Production started in roughly 2002 to 2003, since it took the crew more than 3 years to complete the entire film. The movie is based off the comic book of the same name, and I believe the main difference is that in the comics, Vern and RJ were actually very good friends. The art department was so determined to make the perfect vending machine to the point that they went to a bowling alley and various other places to where they would be kicked out of a place because they creeped out the manager. Ironically enough, the vending machine was a last-minute decision because they felt like there was no motive for RJ to sneak into the bear stash. There kind of is, but whatever. To get the scale correct, a camera was put on a pet animal so they could roam around one of the workers' homes and backyard to get the perfect animal's point-eye view. The film was initially to be released on November of 2005, but it switched dates with Curse of the Were-Rabbit. This is officially the first film to be distributed by Paramount Pictures, up until 2013. The first act and the entire movie starts with a homeless raccoon named RJ trying to get food from a vending machine, only to steal food from a bear who just so happens to know him. Since all the food left the cave and the bear woke up a week before hibernation, the inciting incident is that he has to return all of the food before the bear wakes up again from hibernation for good. RJ ends up down by the suburbs where we meet a bunch of other animals who are caught in a small forest in the neighborhood and just woke up from hibernation. The lock-in takes place when RJ meets the other animals who are dealing with suburbia and tells them that they have to go in the humans' houses to get food. We also get a bunch of corny jokes and slapstick to pad this out more than necessary. Act 2 starts with RJ going in depth about the entire process of food production from the factories to the garbage. It's clear by this point that the people behind the movie were finding any reason to pad out their already thin plot. If anyone didn't get what the plot was before, RJ is using the other animals' desperation to not starve to get enough food for the bear and then ditch them. Vern the turtle is a coward who wants nothing to do with the human world, so conflict will obviously start. RJ is accepted by the animal crew, and while they are having fun taking the food, he is feeling like he is a part of the family, while Vern feels replaced and rejected since his older traditions aren't being used anymore. Vern accidentally calls the others stupid and naive for believing RJ, which takes place after he tries to return the food. This is the last straw for the other animals, though the film doesn't treat them as anything but stupid. Our main character is feeling the pressure since the humans are installing a bunch of illegal extermination devices, dealing with the bear in a few days, and the impending backstab he has to deliver to his new, profound family. We get the lies revealed scene where RJ demands Vern to leave him alone, saying that they need more food than they think to give all of it to the bear. All of the other animals are caught by the exterminator while he takes the food to the bear. When the bear tells him that they are more alike than they think, as they watch the other animals get taken away, he bails on the bear and the food to save them. Of course, the other animals are not forgiving of him, leading to a few stupid/comedic moments, and it's Vern of all people who ends up getting them to forgive him. They break out of the cages, only for the exterminator, businesswoman, and the bear trying to kill them. Of course they defeat all three of them, and after they get what they want, Vern tells RJ that they would have helped him with the bear situation, making the plot more redundant and contrived than it needed to be in the first place. RJ officially becomes a part of the family. Bad communication and all. I like the overall theme of family, and I addressed how they missed a huge opportunity in Madagascar that I think they got and utilized with this film. Not all families are conventional or the nuclear, but it doesn't mean the left is less. It is consistent throughout the film, and it's one of the only instances of heart that the film actually has. I love it whenever suburbia and urban planning is addressed in film and media, and to see it through the animal perspective was very perplexing to me. If there is a great and well-defined setting in anything, it usually makes or breaks it, since the story, characters, and animation revolves around it. You can definitely tell by this point that they're used to the CGI animation, and the motion in this film is brilliant. Scaling in this film is impressive, and all the tools and research they used in this regard from the production was all worth it. Flaws and cons. There are definitely some there. I don't know if this makes sense, but my major issue is that the characters and the development of these characters are way too reliant on the celebrity voices. This problem definitely existed in the past, but it was really apparent to me in this film. The personality of the characters were associated with the celebrity, and I don't know if that's due to the weakness of the writing or not. They aren't well developed or realized enough to their full potential, which sucks since there's definitely some material there, but it always comes to a halt. The voicing issue is tied to another con in the film, and that is the humor. A lot of the humor was awkward, clunky, and was almost embarrassing, and a lot of it involved the physical slapstick humor too. Even in some of the DreamWorks preceding films, if they failed in the dialogue humor, they are on point with the slapstick, but this film failed in both arenas. And lastly, the film was just too predictable for me. But the thing is, there were so many chances for the film to not be predictable. The story goes from point A to point B, but there's a bunch of clutter and unfunny filler in between that just slows down the film, with the film already being a short hour and 15 minutes. I'm assuming that bringing the material from the comics to film is a bigger trouble than imagined, since it involves completely different formulas and the transition was definitely rough. When the film was released on May of 2006, it opened weaker than many of DreamWorks' predecessors in the last few years. The film closed in September with a domestic total of $155 million and an international amount of $180 million, adding up to $336 million worldwide. It made less than Shrek and Madagascar, but more than the Aardman output put out at the time. Over the Hedge received positive reception from critics and fans, though it was closer to being favorable instead of being acclaimed. They claimed that the story was tighter and funnier than DreamWorks' predecessors, and that it was a fun ride. I will agree that it is better than their most recent predecessors. It was nominated for some Annies and other awards, but it didn't get much attention otherwise regarding the accolades. I mentioned in the Madagascar review that the partnership with Aardman Animations was going downhill around the time Curse of the Rabbit was released. Not only did the studio suffer from a fire during the production of that film, but it did not live up to the expectations that Chicken Run held up financially 5 years prior. During the production of Flushed Away, a lot of the production issues continued as DreamWorks executives made demands for the film to appeal more to Americans, and a lot of the movie was changed a plethora of times in a plethora of ways. The experience was so unpleasant for both studios that they agreed before the film was even released to not fulfill their initial 5-film contract, and that Flushed Away would be their last project together. This signaled a huge change for DreamWorks Animation, because the initial purpose of the studio, traditional, CGI, and stop-motion animation. At this point in time, traditional animation was lost for 3 years, and now stop-motion was gone as well. In conclusion, Over the Hedge is a somewhat pleasant and largely forgettable film that dims down any potential it had at every chance. It is better than some of its predecessors, but not nearly as memorable. A lot of moments to further develop and characterize the main characters were blown, and a lot of the major themes could have been delved further into at various points throughout the film. As a film that was supposed to set another franchise and to continue the formula set by the Shrek franchise, and further emulated by the Madagascar franchise, this film just missed the mark. DreamWorks and the execs never acknowledged this film anymore, and despite everything said above, this is one of the highlights regarding the dork era of DreamWorks animation. Franchises would continue, but a lot of what made their original films great would be further flanderized and taken into the wrong context, as well as there being a lack of passion in the original films in comparison that were currently being made. Rich people were starting to notice and only support the franchises. Critical reception for the films would grow worse, and the lack of box office support to create new franchises continued.